Hey, hey, beautiful people. It is 11:14 on April the 2nd, 2015. And I had the feeling to come do a short video because of all the energies that are really intensifying right now. I'm back at Inner Harbor Airport. It's going to be pretty windy in this video because there's a storm going on in northeast. Yeah, well, northern parts of Mississippi, Tennessee, up around my family farm. And whenever it does that, all the moisture is being pulled from the Gulf of Mexico down here and heads up that way, which forms the storms. And so whenever that happens, it gets really windy right here on the coast. And so I don't know how this video is going to turn out, but we'll see. We're right between the solar eclipse that occurred a week and a half ago and the lunar eclipse that's going to be occurring 2 days from now on April the 4th. And man, are the energies strong. And yesterday morning I woke up and the light frequencies were just so incredibly intense, while at the same time there was a very much an uneasy feeling that and a lot of times I'll term as astral stickum. And I made a post on Facebook about that, and it was amazing to me how many persons, last check it was 225 persons, and a lot of my peers and those of us who read the field and bring forth our messages in video were commenting on it, that we're all experiencing the same thing. And many of us have just gone through this next leveling up process, or that's what Sandra Walter calls it. It's a leveling up. I call it ascension initiation. It's just attuning to a higher frequency within the field, and an integration, an ascension integration of that. And for me, I just gone through another initiation here recently in the past month and a half, and every time we do that, that next initiation is an expansion of the auric field, which is known as the Merkaba or the light body or whatever you want to call it. And when you expand that field, what happens at that point is all this light starts coming into that field and it fills it up like a great big balloon. And then once you've reached capacity with the light within the field, and the light is really intelligence, it's information, it's like fiber optics. What travels up and down fiber optics that we use for our computer communications or our phone line communications or our television communications now? It is information, it's data packs. That is what the light within our field is. And once we reach maximum capacity, we have to handle a bigger line, and that is why you have an expansion in the auric field. And what happens with that expansion, and it's just like copper wires that are coming from a power plant or going into your house. Each different gauge or thickness of copper wire can handle a different amount of voltage or frequency, in voltage and amperage, a different amount of wattage. And then what happens is once it starts reaching capacity, it heats up as that conductor, the fiber optics or the copper wire or our auric field, can no longer handle the capacity of the light, the information, the frequencies that are being contained. And so what happens is as we go through our initiation process and we're expanding farther and farther out in our auric field, and more light can come in to fill up that field, then you hit a certain point where it starts pressurizing. And anything that gets pressurized, just like a diesel engine that operates, it fires and functions off of compression. And when we peak out in our levels of light, we start having a higher vibration. We create heat. It's a spiritual distillation. Just before it explodes and boom, we go into the next levels. And that's happening to so many of us on planet right now, as we're coming into our higher initiations. And everybody's on different levels for sure, unless you're just awakening, because the awakening process is really much smaller. It takes longer to go through a lot of persons awakening than it does to once you've got the momentum and you're going through your higher levels of initiations. Many of us have been doing this for all this lifetime. Some of us for 10 or 20 years, some of us for many lifetimes. I've come back to this planet to hold the light and the frequencies lifetime after lifetime. I've ascended before from this planet many times, and that's why I teach ascension this time. And so many people are starting to remember that they have too. Everybody on this planet's ascended before. That's the requirement to get into Earth School. It's just being an Earth Ascended Melchizedek is a totally different ballgame. Well, not only are we doing this ourselves, but Mother Earth is also doing it. And her auric field is expanding. And just in the past few weeks since I've been back online, I'm seeing new scientific data that's coming out where the scientists are actually documenting the Earth itself. The actual physical, tangible Mother Earth is expanding, which, you know, that's what happens when you peak out in vibration. You raise the vibration. You know, if you take say a cube of ice and you put it inside a water balloon, that cube of ice, when it melts, it's going to be just slightly less than the volume of that ice when it was put in, because ice does expand when it's cooled. But when you heat that water that is melted from the ice, what happens is, as that frequency really starts increasing, then it turns into a different substance, turns into gas, and it expands. It will fill up that balloon. Man, we've just had so many different types of planes come through here this past weekend. We had an air show here, and it was pretty wild as we had the air show. My white pelicans, that I don't see them here right now. I'm not saying they're all gone, but those guys migrate. And during the air show, where it wasn't the Blue Angels, it was the other group, and they were all flying in formation, and they were just really making a lot of racket all over the place around here. And all the white pelicans you could see going up and drifting up in the thermals until they got several thousands of feet. It must have been about 3,000 or 4,000 feet in the air as they were spiraling up together, and then they formed their V formations and took off, looking like they were flying right into the Blue Angels or whatever those planes were that were coming through. And I don't know if they took off and went north to the Great Lakes. I have no clue. So we'll just have to see as time goes on. But that was the last time I really saw them around. And I wish mankind would be a little bit more considerate of how we treat Mother Earth and the animals here. Everything is consciousness, and the problem is the little mankind, little h humanity, is very much in their head and hasn't yet recognized that all life is having an experience, and those persons as individualized egotistical humans are not here to conquer the earth. They're here to work with Mother Earth and the animals. It's that mentality that is killing this planet. And that goes into another something that is very interesting. Yesterday we just had another oil rig explosion and major fire in the Gulf of Mexico, with a Mexican oil company, and it was today, back in 2010, that I was called to channel the second 40-day event of no negativity and get as many people around this planet as I could possibly get to participate. And it seems like hundreds of thousands of persons participated in that 40 days of no negativity. And that particular event, I released it. It was Good Friday in 2010. Today, 4 years ago, that I channeled that message. In 18 days exactly after I released it, the Deepwater Horizon, the 2010 Gulf oil spill unfolded. And 18, break that down into 666. What is 666? That's the ego. That's the materialism. That is what the Gulf oil spill was all about. And here it is 5 years later now. And not 4 years, 5 years later. And we've got another oil spill unfolding in the Gulf right now. It's kind of, who knows what's going to happen. What happened with the Deepwater Rising is that rig collapsed, which messed up the actual wellhead that was at the bottom a mile deep under the water. And you can't fix things when you do something like that. And still, here in the Gulf, we've got so much oil sheen, and there's no more bait fish and shrimp like there used to be. The waters here used to be boiling with menhaden and shrimp and other types of filter fish, and the bigger fish fed off of those. And it's that Gulf oil spill just wiped it all out. We've got to rethink the way things are being done. We've got to do things in a different way. And even that goes back into this next wave of persons, the second wave, which are waking up right now. And when I said in my previous videos that a lot of these that I see out there are yoga instructors and yoga practitioners, and a lot of them are very set in their belief system, and they think the only people that can explain higher consciousness are the gurus in India, which they don't get that there's a whole wave of us here that have gone through our process. Michael's legions, as well as the other indigos, and we've gone through our process, and we were the planetary volunteers to come back and be the way showers here and now. A lot of these persons newly awakening don't get it. But they're waking up, which is really cool. I'm seeing that all over the place, and I'm seeing a lot of them as they're waking up talk about their dark night of the soul, which which a lot of them have said that they've already been through, but they don't understand that that really unfolds when you're shifting out of your head and you're spending more than 51% or more in your heart. And your whole world falls apart because you can't handle the vibrations, or the vibrations out there that are of the persons or the work or the belief systems that you've been in. It doesn't resonate with you anymore. And so you're dying out of an old life and going into a new life. But truly, that's an ongoing process. It doesn't end. At every level that we obtain, and we only obtain it by how much we can focus into that center point. And like I've said many times, it's like being a spiritual sniper, and you're shooting the bullseye, and then you're shooting the bullseye of the bullseye, and then you magnify that and go into that, and you're shooting the bullseye of that bullseye. And every time you do, every time you go more and deeper in your heart, you have a greater expansion of your auric field. Your auric field expands farther and farther out. And that's what the ascension initiation process is all about. And once you expand farther out, and you can hold that expansion, because the parameter of that expansion is what's termed as your Merkaba. And your Merkaba has many different layers. And we've got it in our personal auric field of the physical vessel. We've got it in When we activate our light body, there's another level to that one. When we are going through our initiation processes and or interacting with our compassionate or angelic self, that's another layer to that one. And that layer is more of a cosmic layer. Your light body is more on the soul level or solar system level, and then you hit the Melchizedek level, and that's more universal. And your Metatronic is really playing from the universal to the multiversal, and sooner or later you're gonna reconnect, because ascension is the reverse process of descension. You'll reconnect with Prime Creator. I know a lot of persons that say they operate from that level, and I can't say that they're not, but in my experience, it took me a long time to get there. And I came into this life knowing that I could this lifetime, and 51 years later, with that video with Melina LaFont where I'm taking my 15th initiation, I finally make that Metatronic initiation, and you always can step in to receiving your messages from the next higher dimensional level. And I started coming into contact with Prime Creator again, which was really cool. I could see from that side of the vortex or piece of pie coming out from center point Prime Creator through all the Metatronic universes out to where we were in our little universe, out to the farthest edge of that, and where I am here. And I could see from both ends, and it's like a wormhole, it's like a vortex, it's like a giant spiritual straw that's coming to where I am in this physical form, ascending back to that which I came from. And I can operate from both ends and channel those encodings consciously at this level. And to me, that's what reconnecting with Prime Creator was all about. And allow consciously that level of self, which we all are. I mean, there's nobody here that's not. There's nobody here in these universes that's not part of Metatron. Now, you might have different flavors of the various archangels, and you're going to have a bit of every single one of them. Me, I'm more attuned, more of a fractal of Archangel Michael, but I have various at that 90% Archangel Michael level, I've got about 10% that's parts and pieces of all the other archangels. Many persons get hung up about the archangels, thinking the archangels are compassionate, and that's just simply not true. The angels are compassionate, and the angels are running around trying to help you to get what you want done, and to give you love and support. Archangels, when I'm playing from my archangel side, which I am mostly, a lot of people perceive me as being kind of cold and uncompassionate, and it's not that at all. I'm very compassionate, but I understand what our school is all about, and it's about the lessons that everybody needs to learn. That brings me, and I try to help them go through those lessons, but then you know, we can't change anybody. We can't bring anybody into their ascension process. I had somebody who had been following my work that physically came to me the other day and said she wants to wake everybody up, and how do we wake everybody up? And really, that's an angelic side. She's touching her angelic end, but from an archangel end, I look at it as everything's the learning experience, and it's not necessarily that we want to wake everybody up. We want everybody to have their experience. So when people are having these deep, dark, gloomy things, and they're playing on the fourth dimensional level, which Mother Earth is in that fourth dimensional level right now. I mean, hugely. When they're playing on that fourth dimensional level, they're still a light, dark, egotistical, because they're in their head. They're still playing that light, dark, good, bad, heaven, hell game. And they've got to go through those lessons and decide that that's not where they wish to play. They wish to have their life more light and magical and not have all the crap that's happening in their life. And when they finally get tired of the crap, then they can move up. And so when this person was asking me about waking everybody up, years ago, I used to try to wake everybody up so that we could get the 144,000 ascended masters on this planet, which we did by Venus Transit 2012. But before then, this planet had a possibility of blowing itself up. Deepwater Horizon could have been much worse. Fukushima could have been much worse. All these earthquakes, like Edgar Casey's prophecies of where I'm sitting right now, is supposed to be underwater. All the aquifers that we keep on, we have aquifers below here, surface of Mother Earth right here, and then all along the Gulf of Mexico and up the Mississippi River, we have these aquifers, which are giant rivers of water, tubes of water going through the rock underground. Well, we've pumped that water out, leaving the ceiling of those aquifers with nothing to support it there. And these earthquakes that those of us who are holding the light and doing our vibrations, doing our meditations, baffling the negativity of the purging, of the distillation, spiritual distillation of all of humanity and Mother Earth, well, if all the earthquakes and all the calamities happen so quick, that vibration could shake up. You remember a couple of years ago when there were sounds coming from Mother Earth, and there were these giant screeches and horn sounds that were going on for hours and days that was coming from the ground? Well, that was Mother Earth as she was shifting into her higher dimensional levels, coming up into the high 4D, into the lower 5D states. And just like we who are doing that, we hear the frequencies that are going on out there, as well as we feel those frequencies going on out there. As we go through this process, we shift. Well, those frequencies are vibration. That's what a frequency is. It's vibration. Hertz is how many times a second is going on and off, which Mother Earth's Hertz rate is, the Schumann rate is coming up since it was at 7 hertz per second, or on and off 7 times per second in 1980. By 2012, we were up to 13 hertz. Well, we've just been clocked at 14.8 hertz, and they're saying we're going to hit 15 hertz by June of this year. That's the frequency, the spiritual fire increasing. It's going ever faster right there. Well, just like putting heat under crude oil, you're going to have a distillation. It's going to be boiling off the impurities. That is the process that we're all going through. That goes back to what I was saying yesterday about my post. A lot of us are feeling this new initiations that we've stepped into and holding this new expanded light and higher frequencies. And as we hold it, because we're walking, talking antennas, sending those frequencies out to Mother Earth and to the rest of the collective of humanity, it's causing a spiritual distillation. It's not only us, it's our entry into the photon belt, our arrival into the high side of the galactic plane, and the great, great, great central sun is actually shining in on us. It's because, man, we have some beautiful clouds occurring. It's because that and how it's affecting the great, great central sun, which is Sirius, or the Pleiades. Well, we've still got white pelicans here. They're still flying in through here, so they didn't all take off. Cool. Well, as oh, they're so beautiful. As those frequencies increase from the great, great, great central sun, it stepped down through Sirius B. That's like a big transformer, and that central sun is stepping it down for Alcyon and the Pleiades, and that central sun, our great central sun, is stepping it down for Helios, our sun here. And our sun is doing some really, really strange things, because we had been firing off solar flares back in early 2012 as we were coming into this solar pole flip, and we ended up having a quadrupolar sun. And the sun never really flipped, and for 3 years we're still waiting on it to continue that flipping. And I heard last week that that it might have really shifted out now, but I'm gonna have to wait and see, because there's been 3 years where we've thought it had already happened and it hadn't happened. But the interesting part about that is it's those solar flares that when they project a CME out towards Earth, that causes Mother Earth to form a protective shield around the planet. It's called our magnetosphere. And for 3 years, it's been firing off X flares and M flares, and we're having comets crash into it, which is sending out CMEs. And those CMEs, for the most part, are going every place else but directly at Earth. And every time we have this major solar flaring activations coming through, and we can see it popping off the eastern limb, the eastern oncoming side of the sun, when those solar flares turn towards Earth, it doesn't actually hit Earth. And so what's happening is it's allowing our magnetosphere, or the protective layers that's keeping us from receiving a lot of these cosmic vibrations, it's allowing that magnetosphere to collapse so that we are receiving those cosmic vibrations. And the spiritual purification goes on here. That's what this time is all about. Now, if you look at the sun, there's intelligent activity behind what's going on. Otherwise, for 3 years, those solar flares would not be dropping off, as they're aiming towards Mother Earth. And so people are just now waking up to, there's more going on here than our little egotistical selves on this planet. A lot of people aren't attuning to how that is working, and every time we try to discuss this, they think we're crazy. But I've been told I was crazy for 52 years now, so I'm still sticking to my guns. Throughout the 80s and early 90s, I thought I was crazy too, but by the end of the 90s and the 2000s, and definitely after I activated in 2009, I know I'm not crazy at all. I know I'm dead on. Man, there's a beautiful osprey. Or that's an eagle. See the eagle? I don't know if you can see that eagle. Right there. That's a golden eagle. We've got 2 bald eagles that lives over here about a mile from here. And that might not be a golden eagle. That might be a baby bald right there. And see, in the first year, they don't get their white up top. That's what that is. That's a baby bald eagle right there. Too cool. Check out the totem on a baby bald eagle. Anyway, a lot of persons think, and see, that's a totem of a higher spiritual level of consciousness that's perfect for this message. And I got to show you. For years, I thought I was going crazy, but there was much magic that was happening around me. I would receive my messages incoming from Michael, or from Metatron, or from my higher self, from my light being self, and it was about the gatherings. It was about gathering for harmonic convergence, or gathering for the 1111 doorway, or all these different events that were going to happen. See, today, in 2010, I sent out a message for the next 40 days. The very first 40-day event I did in September 22nd of 2009, I channeled a message, and it was called "Welcome to the first half of the Great Tribulation." And when I sent that out, it made people, it squirmed them. That's because I wasn't connected to so many of you guys that watch my videos now, and I was talking to the same people that I was trying to talk about the harmonic convergence getting ready to happen, or opening 1111 getting ready to happen in 1987 and 1992, and they thought I was crazy, and I got pretty threatened back then. Well, that's why I was quiet for many years, from 1995 to 2009, because my daughter had been born and because I was brought back to Mississippi, same place that I'd been threatened before. And I was going, I'm going to be very quiet, go through my process silently. And on 9/11 in 2009, actually it was the 999 gate activation. That's when all the planetary crystals around the planet that we hid during Atlantis started firing up, and started powering up to where they were back during the Atlantean times. And that's when the frequencies really started kicking in around the planet, because crystals hold frequencies, and these crystals are, some of them are 100 feet long, some of them are even bigger. You know, they're as big around as a house. And many of us were getting called to go activate, to put our key in to where those crystals were and crank it up and turn it on. And we were all being called to these same places all over the planet, like Mount Magazine in Arkansas, or around the Grand Canyon, to all the different crystals we buried there, or Sedona, or, you know, they're all over the planet. We've placed them. A lot of them are where these pyramids are, sacred spots are, planetary chakras are. And we were called to go to these places and to with our energies to do our meditations and ceremonies, and that was what was reactivating those planetary crystals. Well, that happened at 999, September 9th, 2009. September 11th, 2009, Archangel Michael told me to come out now, and I was going, not gonna do it. And I had 11 days right there until September 22nd, 2009, where I was fighting it. Nothing was working. In fact, every time I was going no, some accident would happen. And I finally surrendered on September 22nd, and I channeled a message that I sent out, and it cost me the love of my life. She left. Cost me a lot of family that got real mad at me again because I was coming out and saying the same things again that I had been 20 years before. Had been keeping quiet about it. It cost me a lot of my friends, cost me a lot of people. But at the same time, when that message went out in the first 40 days, which began 1st of November 2009, went on to December 15th, 2009, 5,000 people got called into that. Well, when I channeled that message, part of the message was that the biblical bottomless pit, BP, the bottomless pit, the Gulf oil spill, which I didn't know that was what it was going to be, but I knew that the bottomless pit, which I was deeply associated with all my life, ever since I was a child, I knew I was associated with that. That it was getting ready to happen. And I put it in my messages there in September 22nd, 2009. There's an otter. Oh, too cool. He just went under. We don't have a lot of otters here, but there was an otter right there. And yeah, I felt like an otter ducking under the water. I didn't want to pull out these messages. I didn't want to tell people what was going on because of all the crap that I had. And I wasn't activated at that first gateway, but I was supposed to activate in November 2009 and bring 8,000 people along with me, which ended up happening. The messages in January of 2010 was we accomplished that. But to keep the Earth from falling apart by Venus transit in 2012, we had to get 144,000 of us activated. We accomplished that too. But I was channeling the messages that the bottomless pit was getting ready to unfold. And that's also the Hopi seventh sign, where the waters will turn black. And with what's going on today with this other oil rig that's on fire, it's looking like another reenactment of the same Gulf oil spill that happened on the 20th of April in 2010. And like I said, my focus here in Ocean Springs, Mississippi, daily I would come out to the water here and I'd use my light to push that oil out. And until I left for Sedona at the end of July and 1st of August in 2010, that oil never came in here. It rained oil in here from the convection rains which the Crexit was allowing to evaporate the oil up into the skies. In our afternoon convection rains, it rained oil here, and I was documenting the whole thing and trying to get the news to report it, and nobody'd even talk about it. They wouldn't even acknowledge it. Oh man, what a trip it is. It's been a really quite an adventure to get humanity to wake up and to see what's going on and to realize that we've all got missions here, every single one of us, and we're all here for a purpose. And that purpose is to go through our ascension mastery process. That purpose is to shift our consciousness from our head to our heart, and we expand our field. And then when we activate that heart chakra and it expands, all the other 7 chakras also activate and they expand. Then all of them together expand seven times till it's outside of your physical form. And your ascension chakra will activate then, and then all of those chakras will go 90 degrees up and the ascension column is formed. When you go spherical, then you become the star that you are. That's the 8th initiation. The 7th initiation is when they go all up. The 6th initiation is when all the 7 chakras first activate. The 5th initiation is when the heart chakra activates. And the 8th initiation, you are completely surrendered to service of the divine plan, and you're playing with your messages on the galactic level. You're playing with your archangelic self at that point, and you're it's a most interesting thing to receive messages, and it's not like you've got an archangel coming out in front of you and standing in front of you and saying, go out and tell everybody this. As you expand your field is light. The field has a certain frequency, and that frequency corresponds to your various dimensional levels of higher self. First being just who you are, next being your light being self, the next being your angelic self, the next your archangelic self, the next your Metatronic self, and then prime creator. But how do you explain to persons that this is how the messages are coming through when those persons are attuned to the intellect and identifying with their egoic self, this lifetime, who they perceive themselves to be as their personality within this lifetime? As you get through your ascension process, you're becoming less and less that. You're identifying more with the field and the frequencies, the energies that you are, that you feel within the field, the frequencies that you feel, the frequencies that you hear, the aura that you see, and your powers just grow. You can, you see everything as energy. You see it as a field. It's like driving down a hot road in the summertime, and you can see that hot road out to the horizon. You see the little it's almost like a haze or flicker or what do they call it? Like it's not real. You see the vibrations out there. Well, that's what it's like to see the auras. That is the frequencies. That is what I feel within my field. That is what the light behind me in many of my videos, you see whatever is behind me affected by the light within my field. That is what is doing it. And it's like looking at a mirage, but it's just different frequencies of light and how light is bent throughout. It's all about the volume of light within the field as well as the frequency that's there. And that's the same thing. When you are expanding your field out, you're able to attune, depending on what you're attuning to, what level of you are attuning to, you're receiving various message, like a radio broadcast or something, like a television station. Sometimes I see it, sometimes I hear it, sometimes I just know it. And that goes back, I went to a gathering this past weekend, and I learned a lot from the gathering. It was really cool, but most everybody there was just waking up and starting to play in their fourth dimensional level of who they are. And they're all about healing themselves with plants and taking care of the physical body and all that. But the main thing that you see between persons who are truly fully embodied in a fifth dimensional and sixth dimensional perspective compared to ones that are coming out of third dimensional and playing in fourth is the third dimensional and playing in fourth, everything is happening to you on the outside and it's affecting your physical vessel, rather than the fifth and sixth dimensional levels. You are creating your experience from the inside out. It's just two totally different perspectives and understandings of how everything works. And it's really cool to see. And just like Muji just posted a video, I want to say that was on the 26th, and he's like, it's time just to be quiet and observe. And that's how I feel, because so many people are waking up, going through their process. And as they do, as the Schumann frequency is rising, as we're having all these different magnetosphere collapsing, the incoming cosmic waves, as so many people are going through their next initiations, we're blasting everybody with light as we're walking, talking spiritual antennas here. Those persons that are coming out of the 3D and into their 4D, they have got to go through their purging processes. I even heard at the same event last weekend where they were talking about doing the healings with the families from 4 generations back, and yeah, absolutely. But how many of us have been doing that for a long time? So, after a while, oh yeah, we just have to kick back and listen. I also heard there where they were talking about we're in the enlightened age now, and they were talking about the technological age. And I had to say, well, what is enlightenment? Because enlightenment to 3D and 4D is all about technology and materialism, and enlightenment to somebody that's in 5 and 6D is about the expansion of their field, the inner lighting, the inner lightment. Enlightenment. And it is that enlightenment which we're going into. It's not about the technologies. In fact, we're going to become a lot more simple in our technologies in the future. There's going to be a lot of us out there bringing forth technologies that are much more compatible with the earth and much more earth friendly, and that's what we're here to do. And when I get back up to Tennessee, that's exactly what Heart of Turtle Island's all about. It's a research and development center for alternative energy, for permaculture and aquaponics, and for various types of alternative home structures or building structures. And so how you can use what's on the land, or how you can use the most simple things that you have to do the best with, and something that's earth friendly, that's not going to be destroying this planet. Anyway, I've got a lot of things to do this afternoon. I'm completing a bunch of projects here on the Gulf Coast for my family. I'm still digging out Hurricane Katrina debris from 10 years ago. And over the past couple of weeks, I dug out a wall that was buried in 4 feet of sand, and there was about 200 plus cinder blocks that I dug out whole, and probably that much again that was all in parts and pieces, and getting ready to plant some citrus trees, hopefully instead of ligustrum, Mom. I want to see grapefruits and oranges and more satsumas and lemons and limes and things like that. She wants to plant ligustrum. Anyway, Mom usually gets what Mom wants. And I got to finish this project up and do some things on the family home to finish it up before I can turn it over to somebody else. And then I'm on my way to Tennessee and doing my projects up there for until fall. Anyway, love you all. We're going to have a fantastic eclipse coming up. It's not going to be so visible from right here where I am in Mississippi. We'll catch part of it. Looks like the full meal deal is out in the middle of the Atlantic, but everybody's going to catch the energies from it. And as we go through these processes, we're going to have more higher frequencies coming through, and with all those higher frequencies, there's always lower vibrations that must get purged out. At some point, I got to go get my grandfather's boat and that I brought back from Houston and do all the repairs on it so I can get back out in the water here come fall. Anyway, love y'all. Bye for now.